Hey friends, New Year's means new reading goals, and I have plenty of those. So here are the 25 books that I want to read in 2025, split up into manga, novels, and nonfiction so that I reach everything in my collection. So let's get started. So first up on my list is all of my manga, which is why I have the quotations around 25 because I include volumes I want to get up to. So while there's only 10 books on the list, in total it comes out to 49 total books of me catching up. So that should be interesting to see how that goes. But in order, first up, well, they're not really in a particular order, I guess. But first up is volume 1 of Goodnight Poon Poon. I do plan on reading all 7 of these volumes, but considering everything else on this list, as long as I read one, I can check it off my box. And I think that's okay. Next on my list, it wasn't officially on my list, but I wanted to read it just to knock off my what is it called? The alphabet challenge. But I didn't end up doing that. So now Two Birds One Stone this year is going to be Vagabond Volume 1, considering I bought all 12 volumes and I haven't started. So if I continue, which I might because there's 12 volumes, I might read one once a month. But we'll kind of see how that goes. I'm not going to make any plans. As long as I read this one, check mark. Because I did not finish my 24 and 24 last year. Whoopsie. Next on my list is where I kind of veer from just one volume. This is I want to catch up. And that is the entirety of Stardust Crusaders. So this is 10 volumes. I have seen the anime, so it makes reading it not too bad because it's basically one-to-one. But I haven't read any of it. So if I want to keep buying it and get Steel Ball Run eventually, I have to read at least these 10 volumes. Which I think I can do. I just have to, make sure I keep up with it, you know? Next on my list, I'm, looking at it as if I don't remember, is No Longer Human. I keep buying Junji Ito. I have 2 shelves for him, actually. So I want to read this one because I feel like it's different, you know, because it's an adaptation of a regular novel, which maybe I'll also read the novel it's based on. Since I read Frankenstein, the actual one first, obviously, and then his rendition. So maybe I'll read this one first as a baseline and then read the other novel. But we'll see. This one I just think is going to be a fun Junji Ito to get into. And I mean, I need to read more of it, but this is the only Junji Ito on my list, just to be diverse. Next on my list is a doozy. I don't own all of them, so this is only half of them, but basically I've just finished volume 40 of One Piece and I went to get to volume 60, so this is 10 of those. So basically just double this, and I need to read 20 volumes of One Piece, which is it's One Piece, so it's not going to take me that long, but one book turns into 20 really quick, so we'll kind of see how that goes. That is my goal. If I can get further than that, that would be cool, but then I'm I don't want to catch up, because then I just have to keep waiting for them, you know? But then it's going to get to a point where if you're not caught up, you're done, because there's no going to be avoiding spoilers for One Piece, so we'll see just how it goes. Next on my list, I don't know if I actually care about this, so I'm really putting it on my list because I bought it probably 2 years ago and I haven't picked it up. So it's volume 1 of A Silent Voice. I've already seen the movie, and so it's maybe I'll read this first one, and if I don't like it, I'll just get rid of the whole series because, again, I bought all 7. But I don't know if I really care, you know? So I'm going to read this, and then if I don't like it, I'll get rid of it. If I do, then I'll just read the rest. Next on my list is gonna be another doozy where I read volume 1 and I was gonna read the rest of it, but I just didn't. But the rest of Monster, so there's 8 volumes here that I need to catch up on, so I read the entire series because I'm really excited to see how it goes, and my husband seems really interested in it. So if I finish it and I'm this is really good, give him something else to read, and then we can talk about it. Big brain activities. Next, this was on my list for 2024, and I think I only read 1 volume, maybe 2. I think I read 7 and 8 last year. The point is, I did not read all of it, but I stuck to it. I said if I didn't finish all of them, I couldn't buy the new hardcover, and I didn't. So look at me. But so that means moving into 2025 is 5 volumes of the deluxe Berserk editions. So if I don't finish these, I can't buy volume 14. And if I do finish them, I get a fun little surprise at the end of the year. Because I do really want to keep reading them. That funk. It's heavy, but they're so, like, both in content and in actual weight. But I am really excited to read these. I think it's just, like, I don't know, like, just picking them up, I think is such a commitment because they're so much longer. And I sometimes when I pick up a graphic novel, I just want to, pick it up, finish it. And with Berserk, it takes me a little bit because it's, like, 3 volumes in one. But it's so good. So I just need to read one, like, every other month. So I definitely need to tackle that. I think I'll probably read one this month, but we'll kind of see because it's a lot. And I have a lot planned. So we'll kind of see. But these I need to get to because they can't come into 2026. They just can't. Next on this list is going to be PTSD Radio. Because, again, I have all 3 of these volumes because these are, like, the 2-in-1s. I haven't started it. But this is something I think I really, really would enjoy. And I just really want to get into it. Like, people say it's kind of wild. And I think the art style is just awesome. Like, that's crazy. So, I want to at least read this first one. I'm not going to commit to reading all 3 books. Like I said, I got 49 books just in manga. So, I want to read this one, see if I like it, and then I'll just keep reading. So, maybe I'll tackle this in October. Hopefully, I don't have too much going on that month. So, excited to read that. Maybe I shouldn't put those there. I got too many books, and you can see all of them. Stop. Last on this list is kind of uneventful, I guess, compared to everything else. But it's just volume 2 of Warren High School Host Club because I bought these when I first got my job at Half Price Books like 3 years ago. And I haven't read them. I watched the anime, and so I've read volume 1 because I was like, oh, I'm going to read all of them. And then we moved, and I had them stacked up, so getting to these volumes in the back is kind of a pain in the butt. But if that's my only reason, like, I need to just read them. So I want to at least read volume 2. Because I know they're not good, objectively. But it's such a good time. It's like the first anime I ever watched. And so I just have these, honestly, for nostalgic purposes. But that being said, this is like 17 books on my shelf that it says I haven't read in my TBR. That's killing me. So I need to at least read these if I want to keep them so that my TBR is 17 books less. Because, yikes. But that's the manga I want to read. Like I said, for my 10 manga in this category, it actually equates to 49 volumes. But it's manga, so it feels different, you know. Last year I read 152, mainly because of manga. I think 49 of them were actual non-manga graphic novels. So this is really just like half of the usual manga that I read. So manifesting that I finished this year. I think the only one I didn't finish manga-wise last year was the Berserk volumes. So I shot higher. So let's see if we can get to it and actually, at least finish the Berserk ones. So, yeah. Next up are going to be the novels I want to read because obviously I read a lot of manga. I've dedicated 3 bookshelves to it. And that was about, like, 2/3 of the books that I read last year. But I do still read novels. I promise. I read young adult novels, middle grade novels, actual adult fiction, horror, all that kind of stuff, plays. Obviously not as much because they just take longer in general to read. But I do still read them. And last year, I will say, in my 2024 books, I focused on really long books that I wanted to get to, like classics and stuff like that. Like books that I'd be like, yeah, these would look really good if I finished them. And I didn't get to them at all. I didn't read 1Q84 like I said I was going to. I didn't read Moby Dick like I said I was going to. I never finished House of Leaves, but that is on my list. And everyone keeps asking for it at work. And I just know that it's like on my coffee table mid-read. So maybe I just need to hurry up and finish it because I know it's so good. That being said, this year I focused on books that have been on my TBR the longest. And then books I just like, I am interested in them because I bought them. But if I don't give myself like a reason to read them, I don't know if I'll reach for them. Which is like, why do you own them then? But like, I feel like it makes sense if you're a mood reader. If not, I'm delusional, but don't tell me that. But so first on the list is actually the oldest book on my TBR. Like when I search my Goodreads, oldest, this is number 1 on the list. And I am going to read this book this year. And if I don't, I just have to unhaul it because it's been since like 2017, 2018 since I've bought it. Right in my like beginning to read era. So that's going to be Golden Boy. But it just feels like a 2025 book, I think. Like, isn't 2025 like such a gold color? It's such a like quarter quell. I saw someone say that. It's a quarter quell year. So this is going to be the year I get to it. And if not, I'm sorry. She's got to go. She's been here for too long. She's survived the move. I did move her from my old house. So this year is going to be the year I read it. Hopefully I love it and it's like worth the wait. If not, I'm so sorry. Next on this list, I think it's only been so long because I bought it after Halloween. And it's just like, if you miss Halloween, it doesn't feel like a mood read anymore. But that's going to be Clown in the Cornfield. Also, I think it's because it's a young adult horror book. Not saying that you can't do young adult horror, but I think the horror that I like works better if it's like really gory and like, if I don't know, like adult, I guess. I just feel like you can do so much more. But maybe this will do it for me. So we'll see. Because I know there's like 3 at this point. So I'm really excited to read this. I probably will wait until October. And then October's going to pass and I'm going to miss it. So maybe I'll pick it up in like September. Right when the fall starts to set in. Or maybe even now. I don't know. I hope the season doesn't pass me again. I don't know how many years I can hold on to this. And keep forgetting it. Because I know it should be good. I'm really intrigued by it. The first chapter was good. You can see where I started it. And then it just never finished. Whoops. So this will be the year I pass that bookmark and complete the book. Next is one of the books. I have 4 of their books, I will say, and I've read 2 of them. So I think really my goal here is to just keep reading the books that I have by them because I love this author, and one of their books was on my 2024 list. And so that's going to be The Feeling of Falling in Love by Mason Deaver, which I first found them because I was like, oh my gosh, a non-binary author, me. And so I don't know if I explicitly know any non-binary authors, which I probably do because, you know, like, who knows. But they are the OG. And so I try to read everything they put out, and I'm so excited to read this one. I waited forever to find a used copy. And I have OkCupid that I'll probably read next year. I don't know, maybe I'll still read it. I don't know, maybe I'll read both. But I'm just so excited to get to this one. I love this cover. We love a dumpster fire. So I'm excited to pick that one up. Next, I have a lot of YA on this list because I tend to just forget about that shelf. I did move my bookshelf, and so I look at it a little bit more. But I don't tend to gravitate towards reading the YA novels. I feel like I go straight to middle grade or straight to adult, and that's like the ether genre that I kind of just forget about. So there's a lot on this list, so I don't forget about them this year. So next is going to be Cafe con Leche, which I have read another book by this author, and I didn't like it. And so I think that's also why I put this on my list, because I can find out if I actually enjoy this author. Like, maybe it was just the book. I really just didn't enjoy that one, though. So I'm going to read this one, see if I like it. If not, it'll find a new home. I do hope that I like it because it looks really, really cute. But if not, maybe me and this author just don't vibe. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But then it'll free up room on my shelf because it's almost at capacity. Next on my list is actually a reread. And usually I don't do that. Usually my list, I say usually, this is the second year I've done this. But I kind of focus on tackling my TBR. But I think this is important too, because I also tend to just read a book once and then I'm like, oh, but I'm not knocking books off my TBR, and then I feel bad. But that's not what reading is. Reading is enjoying and reading what you want to read, not just to knock off a number on my bookshelves. And so I did include like 1.5 rereads on this list because I think that's important too, and it's something I'm forgetting as a hobby reader, you know? So the book I want to read is Forgive Me, Leonard Peacock. This was one of my favorite books in high school. I actually said it was one of my favorite books for a really long time. It's just so good. It impacted me so much when I was younger, but I think it's just because it's a darker subject matter. I think maybe this was the gateway into me reading like sad stuff. But I absolutely love this book, and this is actually the same author who did Silver Linings Playbook, which I haven't read the book, but I love the movie. So maybe Matthew just knows what's up. But this book is really, really good. I can't wait to reread it and like have a new perspective as an adult, because I think the last time I read it, I was like a freshman in high school, and I'm 24. So I want to see how like this decade has changed me, and maybe if I still like it. I mean, obviously juvenile, but I just want to see a new perspective. And so I'm really excited to pick up this one this year. I might pick that one up fairly recently. I don't know. I say that and then I don't. So don't look at me, I'm a liar. Next up, I can go either way. This one could either be a reread or reading something new. Basically, my new favorite book of all time is A Little Life. I know, cancel me. I'm unwell. But I have the play adaptation, and so I could reread it, but I just reread it in 2023. I read it in 2020 and then 2023, so maybe I'll wait one more year and read it in 2026, and I can read it every 3 years. I don't know. I might still pick it up because I adore her. But I think maybe one, to knock off a book off my TBR, but also two, to get a new perspective on the story, is to read the screenplay to see if maybe I still like it just the same. Or like see what else is uncovered with it being in like this format. So I'm obsessed. I might also just reread the book, but that's 800 pages compared to however many pages this is, like 100 something. So we'll kind of see how that goes. I grabbed the wrong book off my shelf. Okay, this is not the book, but I'm not getting up and re-recording this whole thing. So I've read this book. I love this book. I love Frederick Buckman. The actual book I meant to pull off my shelf, I got so distracted, is Us Against You, which is the second book in the Beartown series, because I read the first one, but like as an audiobook. Obsessed. Like, it took me a couple tries because it takes a lot to get into it, but now that I've gotten into all the drama, I can't wait to read that second book. And the third one is so long. But if I want to get the third one, I have to finish book 2, obviously, and see if I really, really like the series, which I'm sure I will. I love Frederick Buckman. I can't believe I pulled this book off. I was like, another reread. But if you haven't read this book, fire. This should be on your 2025 books. Or anything by Frederick Buckman, obsessed. One of his novellas, perfect. Anyways, this isn't about this. That's like a separate video, I guess. Next on my list actually does turn into 2 books. Is I want to read Dr. Sleep, because they changed the ending of The Shining for the movie. And so I haven't seen Dr. Sleep, because then it must be completely different, I would think. But I also know this one gets really magical. That being said, I read The Shining in 2021 or 2020. I don't remember. Freshman year of college. So I will first have to reread The Shining and then read Dr. Sleep. I am excited for both of these. I love The Shining. It might be my favorite Stephen King. I haven't read that many, but she's up there. And then I can read Dr. Sleep, because I am really excited to see how this book is, what happens, and then like compare and kind of read them side by side. And then I'm still tracking down a good like a trade paperback of The Shining. This one is my mom's. Shout out to my mom who gave it to me. But I will have to read both of these. I don't think I'll wait for October to read these, considering there's 2. But I don't know when I'm going to pick them up. Especially because this one doesn't count towards my TBR. But again, rereading is important and learning new things from the second go around. So, we're learning things this year. We're growing. My frontal lobe is developing. Next, I'm going to be real. I don't know if I'm going to get to this one. And I'm just being honest with myself, because I don't think I'm dumb, but when it comes to fantasy, I'm a little dumb. Like, my brain cannot absorb it. That being said, I'm not hopping on the Cosmere train, because that feels like a lot. I'm not saying this isn't a lot, but it's less. But I want to read book 1 of the Wheel of Time series. So, The Eye of the World. This is a doozy, and I think I'm going to hate how the pages are so big, because it's going to make it feel like I'm reading it slower. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll get the ebook if there is one. I don't know. I'll check my library. But I do want to read book 1 because I want to be a fantasy person. I want to be fun and quirky, and I want a whole new world of reading. I feel like they have so many good ideas, and my brain is so small. I'm just finishing Lord of the Rings, and so, but it's so good. So I want to keep diving in. Will I? Probably not likely. But if I don't reach for this, maybe I'll reach for the 5th season, because that one's only 3 books. I know how to count. And I have those too. So, I don't know. If you see me in December, don't ask me hard questions. Last in my novel list, I don't really know what this is about, actually. I bought it a while ago, but I've seen people really, really like it. So, on my list, also, final in my novels, is Boy Parts. Again, I know nothing about it, but I'm excited to find out. I don't know. I'm not going to read the back. Maybe I'll pick this one up soon. But I love this cover. You know? And also, it's one of those books, if I don't tell myself to read it, I might just forget about it. Because it's one of those books that not a lot of people talk about. And so, like, reading it, you're like, oh, well, it's not going to make me fit in or anything. Like, I can't talk about it with anybody. But I'm here to contribute to this, because I know other people have read this. And so I want to read this, see what's up. And, yeah, just kind of read what I want and not read what everybody else is reading, if that makes sense. So that is what I have for all of my novels. I know it's like, yap. But it is very exciting. I do want to read all of them. Will I? Don't ask me hard questions. Like I said, what happens, happens. I will read books. Will it be these? I'm trying, okay? I have a mission, and I think that's what counts. But yeah, so those are the novels I want to read. And next up is the nonfiction stuff. Last up is going to be my nonfiction books, which is about half of what my other goals are. Obviously, manga and novels are easier to read, so I have those set at 10. And then my nonfiction, I keep at my settle 5. Because last year it was 4 and I only read 2 of them. Not saying I didn't read only 2 nonfiction books in the whole year, but I only read 2 of the 4 on my list. So maybe this year I'll do better and actually read the ones from last year as well. Because I do really want to read those. It was just a really busy year. I didn't like everything in the planet. And this year I don't really have that much planned. So maybe this will be the year. First on my list, though, I am so excited about. It's called Threads of Life. And it's like a nonfiction talking about like crafting and embroidery and fabrics and their relationship with like politics and history and how everything kind of comes together. I love a social history. So I am so excited to read this. Like, I feel like it's one of those books that people kind of forget about, like what aspects of history that people forget about. But it's like people that make the flags and the AIDS quilt and all that kind of stuff. Like, it never occurred to me to like read more into that. But I found this book. I immediately had to purchase it. So I bought this about like 6 months ago. I will be reading it this year. I promise. And if you see me in 2025 and I didn't read it, or 2026, mind your business. I have a lot of books. I'm making my way. Okay. Next on my list, I am really excited for, which I guess all of these are really excited for. I bought them. But I'm gonna apply to grad school, and even if I don't get in, it'll reinvigorate my love of wanting to be a librarian. So this book is called This Book is Overdue, which I think is kind of the digitization of libraries. Or maybe not. Maybe this is actually like, hey, I think it's just like, hey, sometimes there is a lot of technology, yes, but also utilize your library and how important they are, and also how they are also technology. I think that's actually what this book is about. I have a bunch of books, because I think another one of my library books I have is about the digitization and stuff of like incorporating that. Listen, okay, they all kind of blend together because I haven't read them yet. So I'm excited to read this one and get a whole new perspective, because also I love librarians. I love libraries. I can't wait to be a librarian. So I can't wait to read this and kind of manifest my future. Next up, I've had this book since college because it is one of the books that my professor recommended. We read other books in his class, which were phenomenal. Like The Captured, I think that's what it's called, or just The Captured. So good. Amazing. The Big Rich, fire. Friday Night Lights was okay, but I'm so glad that I read it. But he also recommended Isaac Storm, which is about like the biggest hurricane in history. I don't know if it still is, but the one that hit Galveston in the 1900s. So I'm excited to read this because I really don't know anything about that other than like the whole town decimated. It really set back Galveston like a lot. And so I want to get more into this. Like, how am I a Texan and I don't know all this Texas history? Scam. That's because I live in Dallas. But I am excited to read that, and I'm not going to email him and say, hey, I finally read the book that you recommended. But I feel like he'll just know subconsciously. He won't, but I can pretend. Next up is another history book. This one, I guess that one's dark too, but this one's probably way darker. Is The Rape of Nanking. I heard about this a long, long time ago, and I went, damn. And then I just forgot about the book. Then it came in one day, and I was like, oh, I need to read this. I've been wanting to read it for a while. And so I finally picked it up, and I think next year will be the year I read it. But I just know this one's going to be a doozy. I might have to read this in parts because it's different in horror when it's not real. When this is real, I'm just going to be mad, you know? So I'm going to read this, and hopefully I'll be okay. Maybe I won't read this the same time as I read, like, A Little Life and stuff like that. I need to balance it out with all the other light stuff that I'm reading. Because, last year I read a lot of stuff about sexual assault and abuse. Yikes. But I am glad that I read them, and I will continue reading more, so I can't wait to read this and kind of just get a new perspective, because I tend to forget to read a lot of histories because it's really heavy and you have to really pick and choose in order to like absorb all of it. Like, I have a book about Russia. I think I have a few other books. I don't remember. I can't see it from over there, but I have other books relating to other countries. Like, I want to read at least something from one continent. So I'm really excited, and I can't wait to like find something else to pick up. But this is going to be my not my one nonfiction of the year, but one of my really heavy ones that I want to pick up. Next is a little bit lighter. We'll end on a not so drastic yikes note. And this is about trees. It's called Finding the Mother Tree. they have hands. They return into books and they have beef. But it's basically like how trees are complex entities, and how, like, obviously they're different organisms than we are, but they also have their own society. Like, they communicate and they change their behaviors and they like remember things in a way. So I am so excited to read this. I hope it's good. Like, I feel like people forget that plants like are alive, you know? And I really think this is gonna be such an interesting read. Oh, and there's pictures in here. Look at these bears. Obviously I'm not reading this just for the pictures, but I'd be forgetting about nature. And so I'm really excited to pick this up. And I think it's just going to be such a different read from everything else that I usually pick up. So I'm really excited to like ease its way in there into my other reads. So I think in total, that's 49, 60, 65 books are on this 25 books in 2025. So I really stuck to my finale and my number, I think. I don't think I overshot at all. But I am excited to see how many of these I do end up reading, considering last year I didn't finish my list. Now, does that mean I failed? No, I still read a bunch of books. I read a lot of stuff that I own. I read a lot of stuff from the library. I read a lot of new things, like genres and authors and subject matters. So I'm really excited to get to these this year. Hopefully tackle some of the ones I did not finish last year. And yeah, it's just gonna be a really good year of reading, and I hope that everyone else has a great year of reading as well. I always love seeing how many books and what other people are reading as well. I do plan, hopefully, to make quarterly updates on how I am progressing. Hopefully I'm not cramming them all into quarter 4, but we shall see. The year is still young. We're on day 2. So we'll kind of manifest me actually finishing my list this year, but if I don't, it is what it is. But yeah, so stay tuned for updates, and then my other reading journeys with my massive TBR, and not just these 25 books that I have planned.